let's move on now to the big fight this weekend. It's the fight of the year, unless AJ and Fury gets announced. It's such an intriguing fight. Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe for the WBO, WBC, and WBA super middleweight titles. Josh, I just can't wait for it. I really can't.
I think this is the first sort of fight, maybe this year or just probably since COVID, that feel really geared up for. I think it's really attracting audience further than just boxing fans as well, because it's like the first big event back. What a way to start getting fans back properly with what would be probably the biggest fight of the year if AJ Fury doesn't happen. So you could say really intriguing fight, and it's one of them. You think you probably know what's going to happen, but then you have a thought and you think, but then is this going to happen? Or there's so many different possibilities to this fight. Just really excited to see how they both turn up and how it goes.
What I love about this build-up as well, that this needle, there's like not for a long time. It's been a while. I can't remember a time when there's been needle between Canelo and an opponent. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't go as far as saying Canelo's rattled. I think he's been quite composed actually when Billy Joe was kind of talk shit to him. But they, I don't think there's a dislike. But I do feel like a bit of Canelo does want to hurt Billy Joe and he wants to make him pay. And Billy Joe is just a great kind of pantomime villain, doesn't he? He likes playing the villain. And Canelo and Callum Smith was a really intriguing fight, but because there wasn't, with all due respect to Callum Smith, he's just not the character Billy Joe is. And I think that's why this fight is a lot more interesting from a personal point of view. Not saying that for everyone, but for me personally, this one just excites me a little bit more due to what Billy Joe's like.
And I think you're right. He is what he is, and he's not afraid to be that villain or sort of be the underdog or ruffle feathers, even if it's not. It might be in bad taste sometimes, but it's having an effect, even if it's a little one. So it'll be interesting to see how Canelo takes that, because, like I said, I can't recall a fight that he's been in where there's been trash talk. He's obviously quite soft-spoken himself. I know he definitely knows how to speak English. I think he just doesn't do it, so it doesn't get caught out, so he's make sure he says everything right. But there's been a few scuffles this week, just with the Saunders team. I think they're calling each other pussies and stuff like that. So,
it was funny to see that.
Yeah, so it's weird. You don't see that from Canelo. He's normally quite business orientated and just focused on the fight. But even in the recent press conference today, it seemed like there's some, like I said, there's some needle. So it's interesting, isn't it? I think Billy Joe Saunders probably knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
They probably made a bit more of a fuss of things than they needed to this week. Like I think it was the ring. Just other general things. But I think at one point they mentioned was like, normally when fighters come over, it's sort of yes or no, sir, 3 bags full, sir, to Canelo, because sometimes they might treat it as that's their big fight, that's their big payday, and I just need to get it over the line so I can do it. But
let's hit my beating, let's hit my money. But
I'll just take the paycheck now. If I lose, I lose. So you can't fault him, because he obviously doesn't want to go in there with not on fair terms, and it's sort of refreshing to see that he's not going to sort of just bow down to the A side. He clearly believes he can win the fight and wants the best chance to. So you can't fault him for that.
Billy Joe is definitely coming to win this fight. I have no doubt about it. I don't think he's going to fold over unless Canelo is absolutely unbelievable on the night and takes out Billy Joe. Like, I think Billy Joe's going to give absolutely everything on Saturday, and I really do think he wants to win this bad. He's been chasing this fight for such a long time, and I think just going back to Billy Joe, the way he is another Mr. Marmite, probably as much as Eubank Jr. was, who we were talking about earlier. The things he does, he's done a lot of things that I've disagreed with in the past, but I do have a kind of thing for Billy Joe, as in the sense of I followed him for such a long time, like in his early days with Frank Warren, and to see him at this kind of, to see him at this level, I do really wish him well, and I do want him to do well. But I think also as well with Billy Joe, he's kind of had that chip. He's always had a bit of a chip on his shoulder. Like we, as a traveller, we don't really know what he's been through, do we? In that sense, and I think he feels like he's probably been discriminated for most of his life. Why should I have to be a role model? Why should I have to please people? Kind of like Tyson Fury. So there are, I think you should always conduct yourself well as a professional, but at the same time, I do kind of think I don't agree with him, but I see where he's coming from with different things he says and
I
does.
feel you on that. I think a lot of Americans don't understand the context of what it means to be a gypsy or a traveler as well. So to them, it's probably mind boggling. But it's some stuff he does. It is in bad taste, but you can't fault it. As much as it's bad, it is refreshing to see someone just be themselves and not be media trained and not, at the end he's a fighter, and
Yeah.
that's what he's about, and he clearly thinks he can do it. So yeah, like you said, he doesn't mind being that villain. He doesn't need to be a role model to anyone. As long as he's doing what he needs to do, then you can't fault him. And you see what effect that brings on the weekend. Obviously, we still got the weigh-in. So more time to ruffle feathers as well.
Definitely 100%. And it was quite funny actually when he was saying to Canelo about the Mexican meat, saying you like beef, don't you like beef, don't you? That's just typical Billy Joe, isn't it? Like,
yeah, because that looked like it ruffled him a bit.
yeah, it did. It did look like it rattled him a little bit, but I don't think as much people made out.
No, but I think he got a bit defensive about. I think he said something about Mexicans as well.
Yeah.
And then he got a bit.
Yeah,
he's quite.
I think he brought up his gypsy heritage, and he said, "I'm a gypsy"
Yeah.
or something, and then he's a I'm a Mexican. Like, I don't know, Johnny, whatever.
So yeah, I don't know. We haven't seen Canelo like that, so for things to kick off. It hasn't been an easy week, negotiations wise. Generally, the fight was off 2 days ago apparently, so still a lot of time for stuff to happen. So be very interesting.
Let's talk about the boxing side of this fight, though. Like we all love the hype, we all love all the shit talking, we all love the build up, but the level of boxing is going to be insane. I reckon this fight. I really do think this is like the Champions League of boxing, in my opinion. If Billy Joe turns up, the Billy Joe that fought David Lemieux and Andy Lee, if that one turns up against Canelo, then we're in for a fucking treat. I reckon.
Yeah, I think again, focus on what you said is what Billy Joe turns up. I don't doubt the best Billy Joe really gives a good fight to Canelo. It's just one of them, you just literally never know, because his performances are so up and down sometimes. He didn't really look the best against Martin Murray, and even before that, I think it was a Fury or something like that. The guy he fought, he got wobbled by some nobody. So he's only had 3 fights at super middleweight. There's a lot of things which would make you doubt him. But I think for us who have followed him and seen him at his best, he is very special. I think he's probably one of the most talented sort of boxers at the moment in that division. So again, it's one of those fights you just don't know what's going to happen. I really hope we see the best Billy Joe.
Definitely.
This weekend, because it's been rough seeing all the Brits go out there and just get mashed up, and then you just sort of it's just another Brit coming over. I think he's probably going to give Canelo his best fight out of the ones who have gone over.
I think so too. Yeah.
But I hope the best Billy Joe turns out.
Yeah, I've always said for a long time off camera that I think in terms of natural talent and boxing ability, Billy Joe Saunders is the best in Britain. I really do think that. When he's on his game, he is almost untouchable. He's so good. And a lot of people have said that who have worked alongside Billy Joe, seen him sparring, seen what he does in the gym. He's unbelievable on his day. However, whether or not that's enough to beat Canelo is another question. Because Canelo is just that good. Callum Smith, he was one of the top fighters in my opinion as well in Britain. He was definitely in the top 5 pound for pound from Britain, and he just walked him down and just bullied him, battered him, and the height difference was mental. Callum Smith is about 6'3", 6'4". Canelo was about 5'9", is he 5'10", if that, and
5'9".
He just absolutely just out-muscled him, didn't he? Just battered him, basically, and really walked Callum Smith down. Smith didn't have the answers, did he, for anything?
And there's just this air about Canelo that it's like he's just almost got this untouchable sort of thing to him, where it's really hard for me to see now how he loses. But, a sort of how everyone sort of speculated coming up to this fight, the style Billy Joe brings has been a problem style for him in the past. So, he's lost before. He's lost to Mayweather. He's not, he's experienced that. That probably does make you think that maybe again, it's only the one loss, but for someone to get beat, it's not impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And while he was still young in his career, Mayweather made him look silly. So he's obviously improved a lot since then, but it makes you think it's definitely possible. Going back to Erislandy Lara as well.
Yeah,
Another different he had with him. So of the styles that he's come across, I think Billy Joe probably is going to be one of his harder fights. But again, it just goes back to what Billy Joe turns up.
Yeah, at the time that the Lara fight, I thought Lara won that. I really did. I made out it was a lot more of a robbery than it was at the time, but I have watched it back since. It was close enough. It does kind of depend on what style you prefer. Do you prefer the hit and not get hit, or do you prefer the aggressor? So looking back, it wasn't a robbery, but it was a style that gave him problems. And another interesting thing, since that fight with Lara, obviously Canelo has improved loads, no doubt about it. But how many fluid boxer movers has he fought since then?
Yeah,
he fought Amir Khan, okay, but he's at least 2 weight classes smaller than Canelo, wasn't he? I can't think of any fluid movers he's got in there since, and he avoided a certain style.
Yeah, you could argue Khan gave him a tough.
Khan was winning in my book. Yeah. I thought Khan was winning
because the speed obviously made a difference, and that maybe that sort of is a reflection of a weakness of his. But yeah, Khan's not a good example because we know what Khan's chin's like. It was just a matter of time. If he lands the once like he did, then it's game over. So yeah.
And he's just a naturally bigger man, isn't he, than Khan? Do you know what I mean? He was a lot bigger. Like, even though Khan had the height, you could just see in the build, the physique.
He's so thick. Like.
It was like almost like a light heavy versus a welterweight in a way, wasn't it? Like the thickness of them, because obviously Canelo comes in so big, doesn't he, on fight night as well? But yeah, like I can't think of how many movers apart from Amir Khan Canelo has fought since. So is there a certain style he's tried to avoid? Now is he kind of maybe he's been working on things now to close? Maybe he's more confident that he can close off the ring a lot better than he used to. That's why he's taking the chance now against Billy Joe, because I think he's in the best form of his life now, Canelo. And like you said, he has got an aura of invincibility. He's almost like Roy Jones in his prime. Like he just put him in with anyone. Canelo's going to be the favorite, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very special. I think, it'd be an interesting story of the fight. I think, back on what you said, that is the best Billy Joe even enough? I think Billy Joe himself also needs to change a little bit and probably be a bit more spiteful.
Yeah,
I think it's shit, but the reality is, if he goes out there for a points decision, he's not necessarily guaranteed it. Even if he does win, and he's not guaranteed that if he's going to run, he's just going to sort of run and try and jab and move all the time. I think he's got a good chance of sort of trying to get the good counters in. I just think he also needs to be willing to trade as well to warrant a bit more of a winning the round as opposed to just running away. So yes, it is a real throw up of what's going to happen. It's the first fight in a while. I generally don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. My head obviously says that no one can beat Canelo, but it's just Billy Joe. You get these shades of sort of Fury and Klitschko again.
100%.
It's just something about it. You just think, but is he going to do something crazy now and just embarrass him or so I really don't know. There's a real sense of I'm really curious about how this is going to go. So
yeah, you're bang on the money with the Fury comparison. Like, let's not forget as well, before Fury went in with Klitschko, his best win was Derek Chisora. So there was nothing in Fury's, there was nothing prior to that Klitschko fight to suggest that Fury was going to beat Klitschko. Nothing, in my opinion. And I think Billy Joe has fought better opposition than if you compare Fury to before he fought Klitschko, if that makes sense. He's fought more world level fighters. He's beaten former world champions in Andy Lee and David Lemieux. So there's more of a benchmark for Billy Joe going into this fight. But yeah, again, it just really depends on what Billy Joe turns up. And I don't know if this makes sense, but the way I see this fight going is, right, if Billy Joe can only win this fight if he is 100% at his best, anything less, he loses. Now, with Canelo's point of view, it might not be enough. Even that 100% might not be enough, but it will take an amazing fighter in Canelo to beat 100% Billy Joe. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I know what you mean. because 100% Billy Joe is going to be hard for anyone. Obviously, Canelo is probably pound for pound number one or around there now, so he's clearly got the stuff to do it. But yeah, I don't think Canelo, if 100% Billy Joe turns up, or the best Billy Joe we've seen turns up, and Canelo's not on his A game, or does get a bit rattled, or something's just missing for him, there's definitely room for an upset, because he's a hard man to pin down when he's in his flow. So again, it's very much, I can't even, I'm not even sure what's going to happen. I think we just need to see how he turns up. He looks confident enough. I think he is one of those people who probably rises to the occasion, depending on the opponent, and maybe he just needs that little kick up the arse, or he needs a bit of underdog mentality to be able to get the best out of him. I just hope he does, because even if he doesn't come up top, if as long as he holds a good account for himself and he goes and does his best, you can't fault him. I'd be annoyed to see Billy Joe crumble and then just think what if, because at this moment I can't see many people beating Canelo. This is probably the first person I've seen going in, and I think there's something there that makes me think he can. So I don't know. I still think it's a very tough night for him. But it's just, I don't know. I can't explain it. It's just this weird feeling of, I don't know, just something might happen. So just really excited to see how it goes down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If Billy Joe, the very, very best Billy Joe that we've ever seen, like there can't be a better Billy Joe that turns up and Canelo still wins, it's gonna be one fucking out of the performance from Canelo. That's all I see it going. That's what it has. That's the only way Billy Joe will win, if that Billy Joe turns up. But that's what so if Canelo beats that version of Billy Joe, we're looking at one seriously good fighter here. Like I know he's already an all-time great, but potentially Mexico's greatest ever boxer. Like that's all. Highly irate Billy Joe when he's at his A game. Another thing as well. But the frustrating thing about Billy Joe is, like, Billy Joe seems to be on his A game when he's kind of under the cosh, when he's when he's the underdog. And the thing is, Billy Joe, I don't think is the hardest trainer, is he? He doesn't really live the life. I think he has been living the life prior to this fight with Canelo, but Canelo stays in the gym, doesn't he? And that could be the difference as well. Activity. Canelo lives like an athlete. I doubt if he drinks, I bet it's a bottle of Corona every other week or something. You know what I mean? Whereas he trains and lives the life as an athlete, whereas Billy Joe doesn't, does he? I mean, he has been for this fight. He has for other big fights, but all throughout his career, that's what has probably been missing. Not the fact that Billy Joe wasn't good enough. It's the fact he didn't train hard enough or dedicate himself.
And that's the thing with Billy Joe. It's always like, have we actually seen the best Billy Joe? So don't get me wrong, this fight has been in the talk for a long time. So maybe I'd like to think that he's had that in his mind going, just sort of staying in shape generally, even with the Martin Murray fight. Sort of he was already, I'd like to think he's already going. So yeah, I think in the past he has been known to not be the best trainer. He's gone through different coaches as well. It's sort of, spent time with the Ingle, he's with Tibbs again now. So he probably is hard work, which is understandable just by seeing his antics this week. He probably is hard work. But again, I just hope we see the best of him this weekend, and that he's taking it seriously. I think maybe the weigh-in will reveal that to us. I do think he probably is more suited at middleweight. I'm not sure whether he's just a super middleweight because he's got because the title sort of became available to him.
Yeah. I remember the champion, the challenger he had for the vacant title was he was wank, wasn't he? He was rubbish, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So but then again, it's the same thing with Canelo. Really, he's floated through weights too. So if it was like a really big Canelo's big, but he's even just like height wise, where it's and stuff like that. I think maybe that'd be more of an issue, but yeah, I think I think as long as he comes in shape, hopefully he's been ticking over properly and been doing it right this time. If he's ever going to do it, it needs to be now, because this will be his big shot now. So he's waited long enough. Hopefully he's done it.
You made a great point actually with the trainers. One thing Billy Joe has lacked is consistency in his career. Like he spent, to be fair, he spent a long time with Jimmy Tibbs, and Jimmy Tibbs did a really good job with him. Don't know what happened behind the scenes there, but ever since he left Jimmy Tibbs, he's gone from Adam Booth, he's gone from
Ingle.
the Ingles. I thought Dominic Ingle did a really good job with him. To be fair, his best performance was under Dominic Ingle, Ben Davison, and now he's with Mark Tibbs, and they're all fantastic trainers, aren't they? But for some reason, we don't know, because we don't know Billy Joe. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We only know what the media tells us. There's, there probably have been issues, I would imagine, that why he's had to move around as much as he has.
There's a lot going against Billy Joe as well. Even just for us who are supporting him, sort of fans of him, it's no secret that he does stupid stuff. And if you really looked into his career, it's good that his record is good, but it's been a lot of high and low points too. He's got a lot. It's a lot to sort of make you think, oh, okay, is he sort of is he capable of doing this? But going back to what I said, I just get this weird sense that we might be expecting something a bit different. On that note, should we move on to predictions?
Yes, definitely. Let's move on to predictions. Josh, what happens Saturday night?
It's one of them. I really don't know with this one. I would, if I had to put money on it, if I had to put my house on it, I'd say Canelo, because I still think, like you said, he really lives it, and in fights that he's had, he's just looked untouchable in some of them, and people who he has no right to be beating them the way he is. He's literally schooling people. So I think I would still say Canelo if I had to choose. But again, there is just this lingering thought of, if there's a man to beat Canelo, there's something that makes you think Billy Joe at his best has the sort of stuff to be able to dethrone him.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. I think if the best Billy Joe turns up on Saturday, it's going to take a fucking good fighter to beat him. And I think Canelo could well be that man. Like, he's been the golden boy really for the last decade, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he's been in big fights. Where Billy Joe's kind of had a stop-start career. He's been a lot of pullouts over the years. He hasn't quite, this is his big shot now, but it hasn't been an easy road, as his career suggests, to get to this point. Whereas Canelo's always been in these big fights. I think it's going to come down. I think it will be. I think it's going to be a breathtaking performance from Canelo. I actually do think the best Billy Joe is going to turn up, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Canelo's just going to pull out the bag, and we're going to talk about how great Canelo is, how much better Canelo actually is than we thought. I thought even before the Callum Smith fight, I thought he was good. And again, I came away from that thinking, fuck me, like, Canelo is amazing. And I think he's going to go an even another level. I do think. I think, although we always say that best fighters bring the best out of Billy Joe, I think it'd be likewise for Canelo. I think Billy Joe's going to bring the best out of Canelo.
And again, this whole sort of ruffling feathers throughout the week, you might see a different Canelo. Sometimes Canelo, he's obviously got that spite, and he can get people out of there.
He's a nasty.
You might see something different and just think, I want to fuck him up. So it's very, very interesting. I think it might be the case where it's a sort of tale of two halves. I think if Billy Joe can sort of evade Canelo for long enough, that's probably what his best chance is to try and take advantage of that in the later rounds. But I suppose you could say Canelo himself is the counterpuncher too. So it's almost like there's a case for saying this might be a bit of a stinker if neither of them are keen to fully engage. I think Canelo's definitely more of a come forward fighter, because he sort of keeps a heavy stance. He really sits on his shots.
Yeah.
But he is known for being a counterpuncher. You see Golovkin, when he fought Golovkin, he's waiting for the shot, then slipping and throwing a big one over, or throwing a hook from somewhere. So again, we're gassing it up like it could be a really good fight. I think it will be, but there's also, I think there might be areas in the fight where they're both a bit cagey of you hit. So I think for Billy Joe, he really needs to go in there and earn respect quickly. I think his power is a bit underrated. I think Andy Lee's gone and said that his power is underrated.
Yeah.
From their fight. So hopefully he's got enough to keep him away. But going back to what I said earlier, I don't think he can afford to just stay on his bike and try and flick out a few jabs and try win that way. I think he's going to be up. He needs to be nailing down rounds and really providing a good case for himself. So be interesting. But yeah, if I had to pick, it'd be Canelo. But who knows? Everyone thought the same with Tyson Fury, Klitschko, and he made a fool out of him, didn't he? So who knows?
I don't think it's going to be a dogfight. I don't think it's going to be Hagler Hearns, but I think it's going to be a high level of boxing kind of fight. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen this one, but it's kind of like Sugar Ray Leonard versus Wilfred Benitez. Just two really good boxers again. Do you know what I mean? Having a chess match. And it wouldn't surprise you right now if Canelo just outboxes Billy Joe, just shows us something different. Do you know what I mean, to his game? Like kind of like how he did against Danny Jacobs. Like going into that fight, Danny Jacobs was the boxer and Canelo was the puncher. And Canelo absolutely schooled him, didn't he? And I think could be something similar to that, although I do think Billy Joe is a trickier style for Canelo over Danny Jacobs is.
I think the difference is the feet. I think the one maybe weaker point of Canelo, I think he's balanced it out with other things he's good at, is that he's very flat-footed and very, like I said, sort of sits on his shots, and he's very sneaky of how he closes down the distance, but he's never, you don't see him bouncing around the ring too much. He's very much creeps in, throws a jab, creeps in, he's getting the inches, and then before you know it, he's in hook range. So I think I think Billy Joe needs to capitalize on sort of coming in from angles, trying to, switch lanes, do what he does best to try and bamboozle him a little bit.
Yeah, Canelo just judges that distance perfectly, doesn't he? Yeah. And I think against Billy Joe, it would be quite hard in the early stages to do that. So because I think Billy Joe will be quite good being as a southpaw, the different angles. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With, like those kind of unorthodox angles, it'd be hard to work out at first. But I do think Canelo will work him out eventually and will get to him.
I think our big thing, maybe a lot of people overlooking as well, is how good Canelo's body punches are.
Yes, that'll slow him down, I think.
If he can sting him early, like body punches that they're gonna take the legs from you, and if that happens to Billy Joe, then I think it's curtains. I think he could even get stopped. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how what his game plan is. I think we all know roughly it's going to be the case of the bull and the matador. Yeah. But I think Billy Joe needs to be a tiny bit better than that, and it's to sort of get gain a bit of respect and just not let himself get walked down or creeped on by Canelo, who's very good at doing that.
Yeah, I just can't fucking wait for it, and I think that's a good place to end it there. I can't wait to review it next week. I hope it's the fight that we've bigged it up to be. I think it will be. I think when you have two class boxers that meet, ultimately that makes a bang 9 times out of 10. And I think it'll be very entertaining to watch. Win or lose, I hope Billy Joe does the job, but I have a lot of respect for Canelo, and he's a respectable champion. So good luck to both men. If you're watching, which I'm sure you're not. But anyway, you can follow us on Twitter at _Y_C for Clinch. We're also on Spotify. Also, could you please subscribe and like the video because it really helps us. And you can also find us on Instagram at A Clinch Fight Podcast. Thank you very much, guys.
Cheers, guys.